Good evening, and welcome to Clawson's City Council meeting of May 1st, 2018. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God, thank you for the gift of life and the opportunities to serve the people of our city. Help us to act with character and conviction. Help us to listen with understanding and goodwill. Help us to speak with charity and restraint. Give us a spirit of service. Remind us that we are stewards of your authority. Guide us to be the leaders your people need. Help us see the humanity and dignity of those who disagree with us, to treat all persons, no matter how weak or poor, with the reverence your creation deserves. And finally, renew with us the strength of your presence and the joy of helping to build a community. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Woolley?
Here.
Councilmember Harris?
Here.
Councilmember Milan?
Yes, here.
Councilmember Moffitt?
Here.
Councilmember Ulbrich?
Here.
The first item on the agenda is consideration of approving the following consent agenda. What's included on the consent agenda this evening is the minutes from the regular City Council meeting from Tuesday, April 17th, as presented, and several board appointments. The board appointment of Darren Audia to the Planning Commission for a term to expire December 31st, 2020. Appointment of Matt Cook to the unexpired term of Brad Orville on the Zoning Board of Appeals as an alternate for a term to expire December 31st, 2019. Appointment of Greg Hildebrandt to the Zoning Board of Appeals as an alternate for a term to expire December 31st, 2020. Reappointment of Mary Liz Curtin to the Downtown Development Authority. Reappointment of Bill Kelly to the Downtown Development Authority. Reappointment of Sarah Rizza to the Downtown Development Authority. Reappointment of George Jacobson to the Planning Commission. Reappointment of Jim McHale to the Planning Commission. And reappointment of Scott Watsons to the Planning Commission. In addition, awarding the bid to the lowest qualified bidder, Hartwell Cement Company of Oak Park of Michigan, to put in the ADA truncated domes and ramp sidewalks for the 2018 CDBG fund grant.
Mayor, I move the consent agenda be approved as listed.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Milan?
Yes.
Councilmember Moffitt?
Yes.
Councilmember Ulbrich?
Yes.
Mayor Woolley?
Yes. And the consent agenda item carries. The next item on the agenda, the presentation by the Guardian Angels Robotics team, will be hopefully at a later date. They won't be here this evening. Do we need to do anything about that, or just essentially?
Nope.
Thank you. And the next item on the agenda is consideration of approving the amended comprehensive financial plan. This is required by the state treasury, I believe, in order to fulfill the requirements of the treasury to do our pension bonds. Mr. Pollack, would you like to add anything regarding that?
Yeah, our representative from PFM, Carrie Blanchette, is here. There were some requested changes by Treasury. I just handed out a highlighted version that was included with the packet. Yeah, I think this is expected. They do ask for things to be changed and adjusted, additional tables. And the one thing I think we all agreed with is to include the fire pension plan, even though we're not asking for funding because we're already 100% funded. They wanted that included. So we met the requirements and the legal requirements of changes that they asked for, and this is a amended plan that we're asking for you to approve tonight. I have a meeting in Lansing on Monday to meet with Treasury to review with Treasury the plan, and hopefully they'll give us the go-ahead to move forward with the bonds.
Madam Mayor, I move the resolution to amend the comprehensive financial plan be approved and to authorize City Manager Mark Pollack to sign the plan and submit it to the State of Michigan.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Milan?
Yes.
Councilmember Moffitt?
Yes.
Councilmember Ulbrich?
Yes.
Mayor Woolley?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
The next item on the agenda is consideration of rescinding the original first reading of an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 18, businesses by adding a new Article 4, massage therapy, providing for the licensing and regulations of such services and businesses as determination of exceptions from such licensing. After the last council meeting, the administration met to discuss the various items that were brought up and felt that the changes that were done to the original proposal were beyond the scope of minor edits and needed to be reintroduced. So due to this original motion for first reading, we need to rescind that first motion.
Mayor, I move the rescinding of the original first reading of an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 18, businesses, by adding a new Article 4, massage therapy, providing for the licensing and regulation of such services and businesses, and determination of exceptions from such licensing be approved.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Moffett?
Yes.
Councilmember Albrecht?
Yes.
Mayor Woolley?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Milan?
Yes.
And the motion carries. The next item on the agenda, number 9, is consideration of the reintroduction and first reading of an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 18, regarding massage therapy. Mr. Kingset, would you please?
All right.
Comment?
And for the members of the public, I'll try to be succinct, but I want them to know what the purpose of this is. In 2008, the Michigan legislature adopted an act that set up requirements for massage therapy and licensing. It was very strict. It was very expressive. It was very oriented toward legitimate massage technique and practices, and required a state license, I think 3 years, and you had to renew. So they took over the licensing aspect of massage in any format as defined therein. And while doing that, they then exempted certain types of massage practices from licensure at a lower level, added by a different level with cities, municipalities. And those are stated specifically in this act, this ordinance. But the ordinance goes on to require a registration procedure of anyone who does massage therapy. And even from the state, we want to know if you're licensed with the state, you should at least register so we know what the location is, where the business is, and so forth. Because if a business happens to go out of business, we want to know what happens to that particular person that has a license that has been registered with us. There are people who will probably provide some therapy who are not licensed by the state. And in that connection, this ordinance goes toward the regulation of those individuals and sets up in Section 154 the registration procedure as to those individuals, because we want to know if you're not licensed by the state but you're doing some massage therapy or massage practice, we want to know where, and we want to know what it is, and we want to know whether it's in a proper area from a standpoint of zoning regulations. And so we want that information. So that provides that here. The last section is the enforcement, and essentially it's this. If there's any violation of the provisions of this particular ordinance, not the state act, but this particular ordinance, then we have a procedure where the person is notified of the violation, and then they have a hearing before the city council. Now, we put that in there arbitrarily, not capriciously, because you have enough meetings, but, do you want to have a hearing? We have other situations where a hearing is by the city manager. But the reason for the hearing, at least, is to make the process of enforcement and violation determinations hasty. And when you have a hearing, whether it's before the city manager, whether it's before the council, that's called an administrative hearing. That has a certain imprimatur that goes forward if there's an appeal. So for instance, if I came before the council on a violation of this, I'd present evidence on why I ought not to be violated, the city would have to present evidence why I violated the ordinance. If council found I violated it and gave the reasons for it, then I could take an appeal, but the appeal would be to the Oakland County Circuit Court under what we call Chapter 7. Chapter 7 is an administrative appeal to either Circuit Court or the Michigan Court of Appeals. That is strictly on the record. So I couldn't raise any new argument that I didn't raise in the hearing. I couldn't raise any other facts that I didn't present in the hearing. I'm tied to that record. And generally, that record will govern unless there has been a substantial prejudice toward me in the conduct of the hearing or in the lack of evidence presented. Outside of that, the preponderance of the evidence will stand as it is in such hearings, and generally the courts will affirm that decision. So we have the identity of who's exempt, we have the identity of people we want to register, we have the registration process, and we have the enforcement. It's much simpler.
Are there any additional questions?
Your Honor, I move the proposed ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 18, Businesses, by adding a new Article 9, Massage Therapy, providing for the licensing and regulations of such services and businesses, and determination of exceptions from such licensing be entered into first reading.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Albrecht?
Yes.
Mayor Woolley?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Milan?
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett?
Yes.
And the motion carries for a first reading.
First reading.
The next item on the agenda is consideration of the reintroduction and first reading of an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 54, Peddlers, Solicitors, Canvassers, Article 1 in general by adding Section 54-13, exemptions, and to create a new Chapter 55, mobile food vending, regarding the regulations and application process for permitting vending, serving, or offering for sale food, beverages, and/or related merchandise from any motorized or non-motorized cart, car, stand, trailer, vehicle, or other device designed to be portable and not permanently attached to the ground within the city on public or private property.
This is an ordinance that is trying to contemporize itself with this period of time where people buy a lot of food from food trucks. The cuisine is different in many instances. It might be different nationalities. It might be a different type of a menu that's not customarily served in restaurants. The goal here is to allow for these vehicles to be located on private property. They are not to be within a certain distance of any restaurant that serves food. It may not even be the same kind of food, but it just serves food. So there's not that perception of competition. It sets up regulations regarding signage. It sets up regulations regarding the application fee, insurance. There are a lot of requirements that deal specifically under the standards that the applicant has to follow. The enforcement is through the city clerk, who, if there's a violation, can revoke the license issued to a vendor, and then the procedure comes into play that's set in the ordinance under section, section 55-6. It's comprehensive. It allows for appeals, again, to the Michigan Circuit Court under Chapter 7, which is the appeals from administrative decisions. And again, there may be some observations made about this as to its practicability, but that's for you to decide from a business standpoint. Some of this is a business decision. It's not a legal decision. And that's what you signed on for, and get paid the large salaries. Because that happens in this day and age where you're going to be confronted by a business decision. And that's going to be the same thing, by way of example, when the home occupation comes before you. Because the home occupation that long ago started dealt with really landscape companies, hair salons or beauty salons in a house and so forth. Now you have internet sales because retail sales are not in a brick and mortar as much as they're over the internet now. So you have that possibly becoming a home occupation. Then you got storage issues and people coming to there and so forth. So I'm just indicating to you the expansion of commercial activity that you never really had before in this society now and in this generation. It's a lot different. So you are being challenged, but that's what you signed on for.
My initial question is, I didn't see any accommodations made for Clawson residents. I think we discussed that.
You did
in
say
the-
that.
In the past, and I didn't see that in
There was
this.
people in the military, wasn't it?
Military were in here.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That was addressed, but Clawson residents, I saw a vague reference, and I didn't know if that's how we were covering it, but
That's, I believe, how we were, but private property is kind of how it was all encompassing. That is your private property.
but we have food cart residents. Are we going to license them the same, or are we giving them a similar?
You're talking about the fee for the permit,
Yeah, a fee for the permit.
We get to decide that, but
You guys would decide the fees.
So you wanted to add a tier of permitting that's cheaper for residents of the city versus non-residents?
Well, because when we specifically mentioned that we were making special accommodations for our military, I
Yeah,
didn't
you-
know if we would want to have done the same thing with the Clawson residents, or we can leave it where, I know that it says that the clerk determines the fee, so I just didn't know if it was intentionally left out and we handled it a different way.
No, but here's what I suggest to you. If you like the context as it is, then on a first reading, you also refer to the city attorney an opinion regarding some application vis-à-vis Clawson residents. Because I don't want you to get into a discriminatory situation. There's got to be a legitimate standard that allows for that. And I'm not saying it can't be developed. I'm just saying from a legal standpoint, you have to identify that.
Which is why I questioned, I thought it may
Yeah.
have been removed because of that reason.
Yeah, there was some
Yes.
discussion
There was a lot of
about
discussion
that.
over the 3 hours that we
Yeah,
talked
yeah,
about.
the 3 hour, right. But I think, again, it's legitimate, and I think then you refer that to us, and we'll get you the opinion by the next reading. And then if you decide to insert that, it's not a material and substantive insertion into the ordinance on the second reading.
yeah, the only questions I had were regarding the application and the fees. I'm actually of the opinion that the fees are low and reasonable enough that I don't know that we need to make any more exceptions. That's my personal opinion.
And the fees that we set, when we said private, that's part of that. It was private, when we discussed that, would be schools and personal residences, when we say private. Because we have no authority, the schools own their property, that's theirs. So that's why we set it at a lower, and then the public would be the parks. That's how we viewed that when we did the fees. But again, with the application, as, you know, each year the council approves the fee schedule, you can decide what you want to do, and then we can insert that into the application, however you want the fees to be.
Yeah, my questions, I'll try to keep it brief. Additional fee of $50 will apply if vending at Clawson City Park during school athletic events, which will benefit the Clawson Athletic Boosters. Is this per occurrence?
This was, I thought it was discussed last time that you said you liked that, so
I just didn't know, based on the language here, if it's per occurrence or if it's one time, covers what length of time. That was
Is
one
it
of my
an
we left
questions.
it vague as well to be, again, whatever. We can say per occurrence, per day or per annual, however you want to word that.
I think
Again,
I would recommend we tie it to, because we have a daily permit and we have a yearly permit. And so if they're applying for a daily permit, then it would be 50 for that one time versus a yearly permit. You know, maybe that's for the whole time. I don't know, how often do they have, it depends on what they're willing to spring for.
Yeah, and at any point, like I stated, the ordinance, they're hand-in-hand, but kind of not, because you have the ordinance, and then you can always change the fees and add any of the structure from the application.
Yeah, and I don't have any substantive questions about the ordinance, but the other question I had was about multiple days, and maybe this is, again, vague so that we can decide, but $50 on public property for a daily permit, and then an annual permit is $250. If a food truck applies for 5 daily permits and pays for them, do we automatically issue an annual permit at that point?
That would be the vagueness, yes.
Okay, all right.
It would behoove them to then just do it for an annual.
But I guess my question is, do their previous fees paid
Yes,
then
that
go
would be then
toward
the
the?
yearly.
Okay.
They get a credit, essentially.
Yes.
Try before you buy. Is that
Again,
it,
like
Matt?
you stated last time,
Okay.
you wanted to crawl before, so we thought when we all discussed this over the 3 hours, we thought that these would be a good lower start, and then at some point, we can see where it's going. Maybe we don't have any, maybe we have a couple, and they say, we start to see maybe these fees are too low, or they're good where they're at. It's kind of one of those things. There was a lot of discussion on the fees.
Yeah,
will tell
I
you that.
appreciate this structure.
I have two comments. One's on the ordinance itself, and this is in regard to the waiving the charge for dishonorably discharged veteran. We still haven't fleshed out. We were looking for something that says who's the owner of the truck or who's a,
Oh, okay.
So to make that specific, I think we still need to clarify that. And then the other comment I had was on the application. There's a line on there where it says the person requesting the permit, and I think we should identify who that person is relative to the ownership of the truck. So is it just, is it secretary or an owner or a cook or whatever, just so that we can identify who's the person who requested the permit relative to the ownership of the truck or business or whatever it is.
Let me speak on that.
Okay.
I think it probably should be the owner or an authorized agent of the owner, because it's the owner of the business who is getting the insurance, and you want to be sure that the person signing it is aware of the obligation that they have under that license. So it should probably be owner and authorized person.
I don't see where they sign it. Oh, there it is, yeah, so, yep, so make that caveat that it can only be applied for by an owner or something like that.
Because the fact they're authorized, they may deny it, but the fact that they signed it raises the assumption they're authorized, therefore the implication is they knew exactly what the consequences were.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we need to have a motion to amend this in regards to the majority ownership by an honorably discharged veteran?
Yeah, I think you should.
So we can have a first reading with the suggested amendments, right?
Correct.
And then, yeah.
Yeah, come back.
How do we do that? Madam Mayor, I move the proposed ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 54, Peddlers, Solicitors, and Canvassers, Article 1, in general, by adding Section 54-13 exemptions, and to create a new Chapter 55, Mobile Food Vending, regarding the regulations and application process for permitting vending, serving, or offering for sale food, beverages, and/or related merchandise from any motorized or non-motorized car, cart, stand, trailer, vehicle, or other device designed to be portable and not permanently attached to the ground within the city on public or private property be entered into first reading.
Support?
Roll call, please.
Mayor Woolley,
Yes.
Councilmember Ayers,
Yes.
Councilmember Milan,
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett,
Yes.
Councilmember Albrecht.
Yes.
And the first reading has been entered for the ordinance amendment, or addition, I guess, in this case. The next item on the agenda is consideration of the introduction and first reading of ordinances to amend the Code of Ordinances to create a new Chapter 56, Special Events, Article 1, in general outlining the regulations and application process for permitting the use of public and private property for special events in the city as deemed applicable by the city administration and/or the city council, and providing standards of conduct application process, exemptions from certain requirements for certain persons or groups, enforcement and appeals and hearings before the city manager on any denial of a permit.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I'm going to do it a little differently. The mayor and I had a conversation before tonight, and she raised a very salient point. And I think if we have her express that tonight and right now, it will be substantive regarding the standard of conduct that's in this ordinance. But it's an appropriate point that I think needs consideration. So, Madam Mayor, I'll turn it over to you.
I'm trying to see where it was in the ordinance
Is it
itself.
under standards of conduct?
Where is it? It discusses, oh, there it is. Number 4, adequate sanitation and other required health facilities are or will be made available in or adjacent to any public assembly areas. Number 5, there are sufficient parking places near the site of the parade or special event to accommodate the number of vehicles reasonably expected. And as a member of the 4th of July committee, there's never enough parking and there's never enough facilities. And how is it that we will be compliant with those festivities?
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because if you look at the introduction of that particular section 3, in line 3, you're talking about a special event within the corporate limits of the city without adhering to the prescribed chapter guidelines that outlines the obligation and requirements for obtaining a special events permit. I'm assuming the reference to guidelines regarding obligations and requirements are those set forth in subparagraph A. Is that right, Mike?
That's actually the guidelines that we currently have that I guess I forgot to attach to this. That's the actual
Well,
application.
here's what my point is. I think we need that clarification, because if it's a reference to an extraneous document that isn't attached, then the first consideration I have is the language of the extraneous document somewhat identical with the subparagraphs of this? Because if it is, I think you could modify this preamble in 3 to the effect by saying without reasonably adhering to. Reasonably adhering to the prescribed guidelines. Reasonably means that you're exercising your best effort to comply with it, but there may be circumstances that you can't totally comply. So that's why I use the adverb reasonably. But I think you may want to look further in to clarify that, because the point raised is a good one. And if you read the subparts of this, one could construe it's mandatory.
Correct.
So if I were a person who was rigidly thinking and I was issuing the permit, I would look at that literally and say if you can't meet it, actually, then you're not getting one. And I don't know that in real life that really happens.
Or if anybody ever finds a reason to refer to this for any personal concerns, I don't want that to not.
Right.
It makes it so that we can't uphold that provision for anyone else
Correct.
because we haven't upheld it for
Yeah, yeah.
ourselves. Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, the disparate treatment.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that's a good point. And others of you may have different points also with this, but I would say that maybe we ought to go back and do a
Not
little
enter a
look-see.
first reading at all.
Now, but there's also some legitimacy in rushing this, because there are events, I think, that, Mike is trying to work where this is going to apply that come into play very soon. Is that right, Mike?
Well, I don't think we
Yes.
want to remove that language necessarily. We just want to soften it. So like maybe say something like as reasonably given because we can't put more parking for the parade, right?
No,
Well,
you
but there's-
can't. But from a drafting standpoint, where you're talking about factors such as this, you can reduce the rigidity of it by having a clarifying paragraph at the outset that states the purpose and intent and the flexibility where it is reasonably demonstrated to apply, something like that. And that would soften it. That would give administration the flexibility, yes or no, to do it. And you've got to rely on their judgment on the flexibility, because you're providing for it in this particular document. So that might be the way to handle it.
The urgency, is there an event coming up that we are not protected from? There isn't, it's not being
No,
addressed?
it's primary, there's not a major urgency. I guess it was just because originally this was kind of tied to the mobile food vending. And
Yeah.
that's kind of why the urgency there is they kind of were. Because if, for instance, if we ever wanted in the next few months to have, or they suggested having a food truck rally, this kind of would then, that's where they're kind of tie-barred in essence, certain aspects of it. Clearly, looking back through it, it does say chapter guidelines, so it doesn't mention the actual application. I misspoke on that, but I think the other thing in mentioning the parade, I guess that could be, we could either remove just that, the site of the special event, and then yet, like you stated, reasonable or at the discretion or something, or you could soften it a little bit, but then the other thing is, if there's another parade, a walk, sometimes where it's not,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm not just talking about the parade, I'm talking about parade, fireworks,
Yes.
festivities at the park, the whole celebration, the whole day. The city is inundated with guests and visitors looking for places to park, and there's limited options.
And that's
And I
been
want to
s-
make sure that we do not prevent ourselves from having those fabulous celebrations because of our
I am
special event.
same with the car show where
Yeah.
we have 400 or 500 cars on the street, plus we have cars up and down the side streets, we in the parking lots, everything like that. So, I mean,
There are two-
some of this has to be.
There are two distinctions on that, both, and this is my language. There are those events that I call that are institutionalized. In other words, they've been around for a long time. And they are generally larger than what we may be talking about here from the standpoint of attendance. So you could conceivably put a separate paragraph that deals with those, that has more flexibility, and develop that standard to those. So that might be the way to do it.
yeah.
Such as grandfathered in or something like that.
Yeah, you'd grandfather it in, but you'd have to have some,
Right.
guidelines there,
Right.
which are characteristic of what you already use.
Right.
But that prohibits us from having some new Superfly event that rises to the same standard, but has the same concerns, right? I mean, that so we can never have another big thing like that we're going to institute in the city, right? So I think
There'll be a
that,
proclamation saying that you are now an institutional event.
Yeah, right, right. No.
I know
Well, those are good points.
We had spoke about, and I guess we didn't, because in our current form of the application that we do utilize, that some of the major events have actually done that we brought before council in the special event application. There was the mention between, I believe it was low hazard, medium hazard, high.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where
Yeah.
where it kind of moved from that parking issue. So I think even in the meeting, we had spoke, what does that really mean? But that's kind of what you're fleshing out here, is the fact that what is a low-tier event versus medium, and then parking taking into account. Where that's a lot of then is on the application side. So, I mean, we could soften that, but then on the application, they know that's where I guess some of the parking things in,
Right.
but you could put it in there as well.
we would need to take, somehow saying something about, like the potential negative impact of limited parking is lesser than the benefit of having this, festival or whatever, to weigh them against each other.
We also got to think about, the DDA coming up with the theater downtown.
Yeah.
I mean, things like that, that should be, I think grandfathered in and what have you. I don't think anything is going to change with the parade or the car show or the DDA thing. That's going to be that dramatic that we need all these special rules that what have you, so.
Well, I agree with you, but I know the DDA director is here, and I think that if they're concerned about the limitations of this, why get with Mike and myself so we can, refine those and try to get the essence of what everyone is saying in here so you have the flexibility.
So
I think I'd refer this back.
refer back to
To
administration.
administration for further review and modification, presentation to you.
Mr. Albrecht, did you have anything anybody else have anything to add? Okay.
Do we make a
Do
motion
we
to,
need to make a motion?
Yes, you should.
Wait, just wait.
that we refer the ordinance to amend the code of ordinances to create Chapter 56 Special Events, Article 1, be referred back to administration for additional provisions to be added.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Ayers,
Yes.
Councilmember Milan,
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett,
Yes.
Councilmember Albrecht.
Yes.
Mayor Woolley.
Yes,
Thank you for your input.
and the motion carries. No. The next item on the agenda is consideration of a resolution approving the small distiller license sought by Weiss Distilling Company to be located at 2434 East 14 Mile Road in the city of Clawson. And I believe we have the gentleman here. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi.
I see that you've got quite a plan, and
Yes.
tell us a little bit about it.
So I'd like to bring a distillery, production facility behind the buildings that I purchased. I purchased 24 to 34 East 14 Mile Road. As you know, the Great Sports Coffee used to be there, and now it's vacant. Doesn't look very nice. I want to make it look very nice and bring my own distillery there. I've done a lot of research. I actually already hired a distiller. He came from New York. He was a highly rated distiller, and I showed him Detroit, showed him Clawson, showed him the spaces around here, and he moved here, and we're ready to go. I need your help and approval. Do you have any questions for me?
No question?
So just the one building where the coffee place used to be, or the one next to it too? Where
I
there's-
own all of those.
So-
So where 24G used to be,
Okay.
they had offices there.
Uh-huh.
I own those. I've already brought a company from Birmingham that is using them, and they have a virtual reality company up there. I think they have 10 or 11 employees in there. The bottom space, we would have our tasting room. And then where Great Sport is, I'd like to take that vacant lot and do a production room. And then in the front of that, we would have 2 retail spots. So that not beautiful spot now will be 2 beautiful retail spots.
So what all are you looking to distill?
Yes. So what am I looking to distill?
Yeah, I mean, like just
Vodka, gin, bourbon, whiskey.
the whole gamut
Yep,
there.
brandy. And everything would be bottled, labeled, and it would say Clawson, Michigan. So anywhere it's sold in Michigan, it's going to say that on the bottle. And my last name.
Which one's first? No, just kidding.
I was actually, last time I was in Chicago, we went to a distillery, CH Distillery.
Yep.
It was really a cool experience. So
Yeah.
I was excited when I saw this. It was really neat.
Yeah. So everyone knows that beer is very popular now. Distilling is like the next thing. And I'm happy to say I already have a team in place for every part of it. So let's do it.
I'll say, the drawings, the renderings were beautiful, so.
Thank you.
I'm very excited
Yep.
to have
So,
this in town.
yeah.
Mr. Kingsup, is this a business decision again, or is there a legal decision
Well, it's
here?
sort of an exciting business decision. I think what I'd ask for, you sound fairly sophisticated. Have you developed a plan of operation?
Yes.
I think if you furnish that to me and make it confidential, because it's
Okay.
your work product, and furnish it to me, then I might be able to review it, so I could do a report to the council on it and also to the planning commission on it.
Okay.
Or I may have additional questions of you.
Sure.
What's your timeline?
So I'd like to get going as fast as I can. But I was looking at the permits and everything. It takes some time to do that. Once that's all passed, I'm ready to go. I've met with a lot of local contractors, and I'd like to keep everything like local, so they're all ready to go too. So the timeline, I hate to put a number on it because things change, but I'd like to be up and running in 6 months.
How does the construction on 14 Mile impact your timeline? Just curious.
Yeah, and it's actually good that you guys are ripping up the road there because we need to put in a 2-inch water line. So I've talked to Harry, and he's like, "Let's get it going."
Okay.
So it's good you guys post these online because that's where I found out.
I guess one thing Dennis would like to know, he's here tonight asking for a resolution in support of him making the application for the distiller's license, because he needs your resolution of support before he can make the application, because it has to be attached to his application, MLCC. So if he provides the business plan and it is accepted, are you in favor then of him making this application so that he knows what to expect?
I mean, barring, I think,
should
for
we make
me,
a motion or something?
barring any legal opinion
Right.
that is,
But let me ask you a question, Joan. Are you talking about the regular proclamation that we've done before?
Yeah, only this is different, it's
Yeah,
just small distillers, but he just needs a resolution
right.
of support so that he can put that with his application. MLCC wants to know
Yeah.
that you would be in favor of him
Yeah.
making the application, because if you weren't in favor of him making the application,
Right.
he can't do it.
It's
good that
Point
Joan
well
is here.
taken. Point well taken. And we could refine that application to really show the uniqueness of this business.
I think he
Vis-a-vis
provided a lot of that
here.
to council with his whole
Yeah.
summary of what the
Incorporate it
business
Basically in
is.
the letter, because you want the LCC to see the distinction.
Well, we'll attach the same thing to
Yeah.
it. They don't require it, but it always doesn't
Right.
hurt to tell your story.
All right.
This obviously need a liquor license, correct?
He needs a small distiller's license.
Okay, is that different than the,
Yeah.
It's different than a redevelopment liquor license, your
Okay.
small distiller's license.
okay.
and that will also allow him to do the tastings and things with
Yeah.
that distiller's
It's
license.
only going to be our stuff that we make, so it's not going to be any outside liquor or anything like that. It's everything we make in-house.
Right.
So you're basically, you're gonna be shipping out more than you're gonna be serving there at the counter?
Yep, we will have distribution, yep.
At some time, he's saying he'd like to really increase that. Right now, he'll be doing retail sales
All right. I
in
just
the
wondered,
storefront
Yeah.
in front of the production area.
so you're gonna be basically loading it back in the alley?
So
is loading
there's,
out?
there's two ways to do that. So we can produce it there, pay bond on it, and then we can move it to another warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
It's like pallets, so it's not really that hard to move it.
Okay.
You guys already have, I mean, I've been in my office there, and there's already like big liquor, Bud Light trucks that come back there and stuff. Everything that we would have would be much smaller than that.
Okay, I think it's a great concept, great idea.
Thanks.
I don't drink liquor, but I mean, it's,
We'll have reverse osmosis water. Very nice. Purest water you'll ever have.
There's not a motion yet. I'm probably going to come at this from a little bit different perspective, and probably I know not the most popular one. I love to see empty space become occupied in Clawson. I really do, and that area has been kind of an eyesore downtown for a while. I'm a little concerned that Clawson is becoming a place known for auto parts and alcohol, and I've heard some jokes to that effect, and I'm a little concerned about that. In addition, and Dennis, I appreciate you. I appreciate your fervor. I appreciate the professionalism here. I just want to point out the CDC conducted a 5-year study, 2006 to 2010, and they stated that excessive alcohol use led to 88,000 deaths each year in the U.S. over that time, which is more than twice as many as firearm deaths in this nation. So I have a lot of reservations about promoting any more alcohol consumption, frankly.
Okay.
And that's a very unpopular opinion. I'm in the vast minority here, and I understand that.
That's fine. So I've researched the science behind liquor and all that stuff. Is your study that you're reading liquor, beer, wine? Do you know which one?
I don't know the answer to that. The CDC refers to it as alcohol, and I don't know what.
Okay, so if you break that down,
Yeah.
if you look at beer and wine, they say they add years to your life. If you look at liquor, they say it takes away. So I've done a lot of research on this because that's something that also bothers me. And I found that all of these distilleries have huge copper stills. And what they're starting to find out is the copper is what's, could be hurting someone. Now, I'm happy to report we've taken the technology side. We're actually working with a company from Amsterdam that does not put copper into the stills. You don't need copper anymore. Copper is there to take out the sulfur from your fermentation. And if you can keep your fermentation cool, and you don't have anything bad flavors coming in there, you don't have to worry about the copper. So I'm happy you bring that up because I've researched all of that stuff.
Thank you.
So.
Thanks.
I think if you look at the hours of operation and the number of seats, at only 35 seats, and what he intends is this is a place to stop in for a before dinner drink or a little aperitif afterwards, that's more what he has in mind of happening there. It's not going to be like it's not at all like a full-service bar.
Right. It's really to complement everyone else around us. So I've already talked to business owners around here, the grills around here, and they were both interested in, working together somehow, having our stuff on their shelves and just working together. So,
I appreciate that.
I think Black Lotus started like that also, didn't it? Pretty much, but they were getting food from the vendors or the businesses
Oh, no,
around.
they have their own
Now
kitchen.
they do, but I mean,
yeah.
when they first started, they were doing that.
Yeah, they tried it.
yeah,
Plus, he's got coffee.
And he's not really going to go so much for food because you're not going to be staying there. It's going to be a tasting and have a drink, move on.
I like the idea, it looks good, I think it'd be a welcome addition for Clawson. I'm not like Matt was, have more alcohol in the city, but I don't believe this is gonna be like a bar, and, because we have a lot of them and enough of them, so.
It's a different experience, I think, than some of our
Yeah.
other bars
Yeah.
provide. It's an
Right.
experience as opposed to just you're experiencing the alcohol or experiencing the
Yeah.
combinations.
and if you look at like the master plan that you guys built in 2017, if you look at what the community wants, artisan uses, entertainment. This is pretty entertaining to see someone like make you something to drink, and then along with 52% of people wanted to revitalize 14 Mile, and then 30% wanted more need for an interesting public place, which I think this is very interesting. So.
I think so too.
You mentioned coffee, and I noticed coffee in your renderings. Is that you, or is that just a?
So I have other companies that are interested that make their own coffee, other companies that make their own cheese. Everyone's interested in joining our project, so I have interested people. So.
Cool, I like it. Now, do you have to go in front of the planning commission yet?
We have not, no.
He doesn't need to go in front
He
of the
doesn't?
planning
Okay,
commission to
cool.
ask for a resolution of support.
Yeah, so the main
from you.
thing is the local government approval, because if I don't have that, then nothing else makes sense.
So
Do we need to wait on that, John? What's your recommendation?
Well, I think getting the plan of operation and working on the resolution and then presenting it to you, and then you can schedule the hearing you want, and we'll give the applicant the resolution as well, and then you get schedule it.
So we're looking at
Whatever.
possibly putting the resolution on the next council meeting would be adequate enough time for you to get the business plan to,
I think that would really slow things down, but, I mean,
Well, and Mr. Kingsup, you might not be aware that he did submit what was termed a
Yeah.
narrative, but it's a
Pretty
couple-page
thorough.
business plan.
Well, I mean, we could get it on the agenda. It's in 2 weeks. So if you furnish it to me, I can,
I'm not sure what that will help, because if you guys have done, I don't know what you guys get for redevelopment liquor license, but those are a lot more intensive than even what I'm doing. And I think you guys approve them off this. But
Yeah,
Well,
do
yeah.
we ask for a business plan for other liquor licenses?
they do a plan of operation after they get
similar that
it.
we saw when
After they
Clawson
Yeah,
Grill.
again, then when we have it all in there.
So I think that's what he's saying, though, is he needs us to do the resolution so he can apply for the
I know,
liquor
but you don't have the
license.
language for it now, do you? That's
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
Mike
Do you
would
f-
come up with
oh,
the
well,
language.
Okay, if
The-
you have it. I
the,
didn't have that before me.
MLCC provides
All
the
right.
language.
Well,
It's
if you wanna
just
do
that the
that.
city council says that Weiss Distilling Company should be considered and that they have your support.
What the state has been normally wanting is this basic one. And sometimes
Yep.
with redevelopment ones, we've done an actual narrative where we've done the whereases, but this one, like you stated, was not that.
Yeah, they said they really just needed a paragraph that said,
Yeah.
we're,
Which I normally would
And,
pull from this narrative that in the past other businesses have supplied.
Because I don't believe we had one of those when we did the
What's a motion?
redevelopment liquor license for Clawson Grill. I think that just came to us and we gave it to them.
Well, let me ask this question of Joan and also of council. I finally see this. Be approved.
For submission.
No, be approved. You want to put some rationale in there? Be approved for the reason that? I mean, it's a unique business enterprise. It's new to the community. It is unique to the community.
A product with our name on it.
Yeah.
Well, no, we have to be a little more subtle than that.
I think you can probably attach the narrative to the application, but MLCC
well, you
said
could-
all they required was that this business at this location would have your support, and you would give them a resolution of support, and then that goes to, with the application.
If you're recommending that, then do it that way. I might dice it up a little more just because it's different, but if you're satisfied with that and you think that will be acceptable to them, then if you feel like adopting it, then you can. But we'll still get the business plan and everything, because then I think if you go forward, at least it allows us in advance to begin to develop an expansion on that plan or an amendment to it that basically shows what the plan of operation is going to be, the ingredients, which is a good marketing tool as well. So,
Madam Mayor, I move the resolution approving the small distillery license sought by Weiss Distilling Company to be located at 24-34 East 14 Mile Road, located within the city of Clawson. City Center redevelopment area be approved for admission to the State of Michigan Liquor Control Commission, providing that we get a business plan. I like what you
I don't
have
think you
done
need
already.
that.
We don't
in
need
there.
that?
No, I just use the language that's in your motion.
All right.
As stated.
I like the new concept, what have you.
Support. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Milan?
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett?
Yes.
Councilmember Olbrich?
No.
Mayor Woolley?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
And the motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck
Thank
to
you.
you.
Thanks.
Welcome to Clawson.
The next item on the agenda is consideration of a resolution to approve the Metro Act right-of-way permit to Clear Rate Communications, Inc. in the city of Clawson. I would like administration in the future to give us a little bit more information on this, but from what I understand, this is a fiber optic company that they're going to be putting some fiber optic cabling underneath. It's underground, and any cost incurred any expense will be theirs if they have to tear anything up.
And they have to report, the Metro Authority is what controls the right-of-way and collects the money now through LARA, the licensing through the state. So this is how we get our right-of-way monies now for the communication companies that use our right-of-way.
So Mark, where are they at? I should have looked at this a little closer. They're not coming down through where they have to tear up our bricks again down at 14 Amin,
No.
hopefully.
I think they were, was 14 Mile and Crooks was the map
Yes.
that I saw earlier.
Yeah. So nothing to do with the
Rochester.
downtown here.
No.
Okay,
No. The outer roads.
that's okay.
Madam Mayor, I move that the resolution to approve the Metro Act right-of-way permit issued by the City of Clawson to Clear Rate Communications Incorporated to install fiber optic facilities be approved.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Moffett?
Yes.
Councilmember Olbrich?
Yes.
Mayor Woolley?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Milan?
Yes.
And the motion carries. The next item on the agenda is consideration of a resolution to support amendments to the city charter, which will be submitted to the electors of the city at this primary election to be held August 7th, 2018. We talked about getting some of the language cleaned up in our charter, and we are starting with Chapter 18, Section 1807, that requires that notices, proceedings, and ordinances be published in local newspapers and used as certificate of evidence. The methods of communication have changed And so we want to make sure that we have the ability to choose which is the best method to post anything, and that city council will be able to require those notifications in accordance with law based on our judgment. And are they second, two of them, or are they both together?
There's two
And
proposals.
And the other one is to remove the reference to the Justice Court, because the Justice Court does no longer exist.
Mayor, I move the resolution to support the amendments to the city charter, which will be submitted to the electors of the city at the state primary election to be held on August 7th, 2018, with ballot language that was prepared by the city clerk and reviewed by the attorney, be submitted to the Michigan Attorney General and Governor for approval.
Support.
Were there any additional questions or comments?
This is just the start, so I will have a charter amendment schedule, hopefully to you by the end of June, to show you kind of what my plans of action will be over the next probably 5 years or so, just to slowly kind of clean up the code and the charter, the charter.
Take any of those crazy things off the books?
Yes, we've done a lot, but we still have a lot more. And at some point, you can always look at, as well as putting forth to the voters, to actually establish a charter commission. If you want to reevaluate that again, some cities do that.
Yeah.
We did a lot of the work back, 10 years, so a lot of it's really been done. But again, every option is always available there for you to do that. But this is just that start to kind of pick away at all those things that we need to fix.
It's a lot
Thank
more.
you for championing that.
Yeah, it's a lot more work to amend the charter than it is to amend ordinances, if I understand correctly.
Yes, yes.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Albrecht?
Yes.
Mayor Woolley?
Yes.
Councilmember Ayers?
Yes.
Councilmember Milan?
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett?
Yes. And the motion carries. And the next item on the agenda is consideration of establishing a public hearing on the following proposed fiscal year July 1st through 2018 through June 30th, 2019 budget items. Each year, it is necessary for the city council to establish a general operating millage rate in order to partially fund the operations of the city. However, before this can be done, a public hearing must be first scheduled and conducted. And I recommend that a public hearing be scheduled for Tuesday, May 15th, 2018 at 7:30 to solicit comments on the July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019 general operating millage rate.
I don't know if you want to handle where I realize that all the motions are
Yeah.
under.
Was that a move?
Can we
Do them all at once?
move them?
What is the
No,
requirement?
you ought to
Mark?
do it seriatim.
I thought it was
Yep.
each one. There's a lot of reading.
I know we've
Buckle
done
in.
each one in the past.
Madam Mayor, I move a public hearing be scheduled for Tuesday, May 15th, 2018 at 7:30 PM to solicit comments on the proposed July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019 general operating millage rate.
Support?
Questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Mayor Woolley?
Yes.
Councilmember Ayers?
Yes.
Councilmember Milan?
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett?
Yes.
Councilmember Albrecht?
Yes.
The next item is consideration of public hearing to solicit comments on the July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019 rubbish collection and disposal millage rates. And that to be scheduled for Tuesday, May 15th, 2018 at 7:30 PM to solicit comments on the proposed millage.
Madam Mayor, I move the public hearing be scheduled for Tuesday, May 15th, 2018, at 7:30 PM to solicit comments on the proposed July 1st, 2018, June 30th, 2019 rubbish collection and millage, or disposal millage rate.
Support.
Comments, questions? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Ayers?
Yeah.
Councilmember Milan?
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett?
Yes.
Councilmember Albrecht?
Yes.
Mayor Woolley?
Yes. As with the previous item, it is necessary for the city council to annually establish a millage rate to fund the additional garbage and rubbish collection and disposal. In November 2013, the electorate approved the levying of an additional .8482 mills for garbage and rubbish collection and disposal services. However, before this can be done, a public hearing must first be scheduled and conducted. I recommend a public hearing be scheduled for Tuesday, May 15th, 2018, at 7:30 PM to solicit comments on the July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019 additional garbage and rubbish collection and disposal millage rate.
Support.
Was that a motion?
Well, actually, that's the motion, basically.
It is, right? I agree.
It basically is, but
Yeah.
that's not how it's.
Support. She can do that.
Or we
Did
can
somebody support that?
Yeah.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Milan?
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett?
Yes.
Councilmember Albrecht?
Yes.
Mayor Woolley?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
You know, I usually get out of this. Okay, so the next one is consideration of establishing a public hearing to solicit comments on the July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019 combined city budgets. It's necessary to conduct a public hearing prior to consideration of the July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019 combined city budgets. I recommend a public hearing to be scheduled for Tuesday, May 15th at 7:30 PM.
Mayor, I move the public hearing to be scheduled for Tuesday, May 15th, 2018 at 7:30 PM to solicit comments on the proposed July 1st, 2018 to June 30th, 2019 combined city budgets.
Support.
Questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Moffett?
Yes.
Councilmember Albrecht?
Yes.
Mayor Woolley?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Milan?
Yes.
The next item on the agenda is consideration and adoption of a capital improvement program. A public hearing established to be scheduled for Tuesday, May 15th, 2018 at 7:30 PM to solicit comments on the July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019 capital improvement plan.
Madam Mayor, I move a public hearing be scheduled for Tuesday, May 15th, 2018 at 7:30 PM to solicit comments on the proposed July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019 capital improvement plan.
Support.
Comments, questions? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Albrecht?
Yes.
Mayor Woolley?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Milan?
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett?
Yes.
The next item is consideration of establishing a public hearing to solicit comments on the levying of the additional general operating millage. In February 2012, the electorate approved the levying of up to 4.2398 additional mills for general operating purposes. There will be a Headley rollback of the millage rate. Prior to City Council consideration of a millage rate, a public hearing must be first conducted. I recommend a public hearing to be scheduled for Tuesday, May 15th, 2018 at 7:30 PM to solicit comments on the levying of additional general operating millage.
Mayor, I move a public hearing to be scheduled Tuesday, May 15th, 2018 at 7:30 to solicit comments on the levying of additional general operating millage.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Woolley?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Milan?
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett?
Yes.
Councilmember Albrecht?
Yes.
Two more.
Oh, there's more. The next item on the agenda is consideration of establishing a public hearing to solicit comments on the millage levying for both real and personal property tax throughout the Clawson Downtown Development Authority District. In June 2003, the City Council approved the levying of 2 mills on both real and personal property taxes throughout the entire Downtown Development Authority District. The Downtown Development Authority is recommending the rollback millage be levied again in the upcoming fiscal year. I recommend a public hearing be scheduled for Tuesday, May 15th, 2018 at 7:30 PM to solicit comments on the millage levying for both real and personal property throughout the Clawson Downtown Development Authority District.
Your Honor, I move a public hearing be established for Tuesday, May 15th, 2018 at 7:30 PM to solicit comments on the millage levying for both the real and personal property throughout the Clawson Downtown Development Authority District.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Milan?
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett?
Yes.
Councilmember Albrecht?
Yes.
Mayor Woolley?
Yes.
Last one.
The next item on the agenda is consideration of establishing a public hearing to solicit comments on the levying of the Blair Memorial Library millage. With the additional voter-approved operating millage of .3333 mils approved by voters on May 3rd, 2011, the maximum authorized operating millage that can be levied for the library is currently 1.3240 mils. There will be a headly rollback of both millages. The Blair Memorial Library Board is recommending the millage be levied again in the upcoming fiscal year. I recommend a public hearing be scheduled for Tuesday, May 15th, 2018, at 7:30 p.m. to solicit comments on the levying of the Blair Memorial Library millage.
Madam Mayor, I move a public hearing be established for Tuesday, May 15th, 2018, at 7:30 p.m. to solicit comments on the levying of the Blair Memorial Library millage.
Support?
Questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Milan?
Yes.
Councilmember Moffett?
Yes.
Councilmember Albrecht?
Yes.
Mayor Woolley?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
And all of the public hearings will be happening on Tuesday, May 15th, 2018, at 7:30 p.m.
Oh, yay.
Yes.
The
You'll have all
next
these
item
motions
on,
again.
pardon me?
You'll have all the motions again that night.
You have to do this all over again.
The next item on the agenda is consideration of a proclamation recognizing Saturday, May 12th, 2018 as National Association of Letter Carriers Stamp Out Hunger Food Drive Day. The National Associations of Letter Carriers, in conjunction with the United States Postal Service, is sponsoring the 26th Annual National Food Drive Day on Saturday, May 12th, 2018. The City of Clawson supports this drive and advocates that the residents of Clawson leave non-perishable food in or near their mailboxes on this date. I recommend we approve the resolution proclaiming Saturday, May 12th, 2018 as National Association of Letter Carriers Stamp Out Hunger Food Drive Day.
Your Honor, I move the resolution proclaiming Saturday, May 12th, 2018 as the National Association of Letter Carriers Stamp Out Hunger Food Drive Day in the City of Clawson be approved.
Support.
Questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Moffett?
Yes.
Councilmember Albrecht?
Yes.
Mayor Woolley?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
And Councilmember Milan?
Yes.
So make sure you leave your items out on your front porch on May 12th. The next item on the agenda is to pay the bills.
Madam Mayor, pay the bills.
Support?
Were there any questions on the bills? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Albrecht?
Yes.
Mayor Woolley?
Yes.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Councilmember Milan?
Yes.
And Councilmember Moffett?
Yes.
The next item would be the city attorney's report.
No reports, Madam Mayor.
Okay. City manager's report?
Just a couple items. I did want to mention we survived our 3 budget workshops we completed last night. I will be submitting adjusted budget numbers based on council's input to you this Thursday, so you'll have, close to a week and a half, almost 2 weeks to review. And if you have any changes or questions, alterations, let me know in the meantime. 2 weeks from tonight, when you do all those terrific millage public hearings, you also will adopt the budgets. By charter, it has to be adopted the second meeting in May, so I'll give you all that information. And like I say, if you have any questions, just feel free to let me know. The other item is, I did reach out, and I did have Mr. Palchesco from DTE, our regional rep, visit me in my office last week. Needless to say, they're getting requests from everyone in the area to come to council meetings. He reluctantly said, I won't be able to make your council meeting, but I did get a prepared statement from DTE. I'm sure this is going to get a standing ovation when I'm done reading it. DTE Energy apologizes for any inconvenience to residents and businesses in the city of Clawson and appreciates your understanding following various recent power outages and service interruptions. Power quality in your area hasn't been up to our standard lately, and we're working to improve it. Our engineers are currently evaluating our system that serves Clawson, the causes of the recent outages and service interruptions, and exploring various opportunities for improvement. Further communications regarding these will be forthcoming. We know how important reliable electricity is to our customers, and we remain committed to providing you with safe, dependable service. We humbly request your continued patience as we work to improve your service and power quality in Clawson. We apologize for the inconvenience and thank you for your patience and understanding as we work to provide you with more reliable energy and peace of mind. So he did say they would stay in contact and communicate, I hope for something a little more specific, but they are continuing to work. They will be continuing to trim trees away from power lines. That's still an issue. But the upgrade of equipment at the substations is, right now, is their priority, along with replacements of transformers that are old. I think they've made a lot of progress in that area, but they still have the substation issue. And he did say their engineers are working on a significant plan to try and prevent the unexplained outages.
How soon should we expect an update on that, how the process?
I will stay in regular contact with him. I will contact him weekly until we get more information, so I'll stay in touch with Mike. Again, he said that, and I told him, I said that, unfortunately for us, that's not good enough. We need information. And he said that they will continue to provide us information for the engineering firms that work on, they have 2 different firms that work on the substations that control most of Clawson. But he did say he would stay on them for a little more detailed plans, and that they would continue to try and fix what they agree are too many unexplained interruptions. So,
Mark, are they refunding everybody back all the money we put through the generators and our backs at the
I would say no.
chiropractor?
I would say no. I know people do inquire. They have a process by which you can apply, I think, for loss, but I don't know of anyone that's ever gotten any money.
It'd probably take forever, like everything else. I
I will stay with it.
I had one question. With the warm weather, start thinking about the farmer's market coming up, and I know historically there's been some signs put out around the city reminding people. Do we have a plan to get those out?
I will get with Doug in the DPW tomorrow and see, because we did have some signs that they hung on entry signs, and I believe they still have those. And then hopefully some bigger signs. And then I guess with the road construction going, they probably don't have the banner, but I think at some point that would go across 14 Mile as well.
Okay.
I wanted to, during our budget workshops, many of the department heads talked about contract negotiations. The results of those, do those come to council in any form? And
They do. We do a summary of all changes, significant changes to the actual contracts, and then you as the mayor will sign those.
are they given to us before they're ratified by the unions?
Yes, we will present those to you before we finalize the agreements.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
No, that's all I have.
Okay. Any unfinished business?
I'd like to wish Mrs. Klein over there on, what are you running in here for? Mrs. Klein over there on Massault, she's 100 years old, I believe, yesterday. Wow. And she's spry, very spry, and she's a great lady. When I was a little tyke many years ago, she still remembers me in the neighborhood. But happy 100th to her. And I think Julia Alwyn is coming up, also another 100-year-old lady in here. So congratulations, ladies. And I know them both, and they've put up with me all my life. So they've done a great job.
New business, we have a very busy week this week. Tomorrow evening, here at City Hall, we have the Awesome Acting Out Kids organization that's going to be doing, making flags for the Oakland County Football Club that's coming here to town. And so here at City Hall on Thursday, May 3rd at 7 p.m., come in and free to attend and help make some flags and enjoy a great family-friendly event. This Friday is our Clawson Police Department and Fire Department versus the Clawson coaches softball game over at the Clawson Park. I did not see the time that started, but I'm guessing it's probably right around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. On May 6th is the Crop Walk over at Trinity Lutheran. Registration's at noon, and the walk starts at 1 o'clock. On the 14th of this month, there's going to be a George Gershwin celebration at the library where from 6:30 to 7:30, they will be playing Gershwin tunes and telling you a little bit about him as well. We have another quiche sale fundraiser for the senior center. The orders are due, I believe they're due this Monday, May 7th by 4, and then they'll be ready to be picked up by May 10th. So get your quiches. I missed mine last time, so I'm
And I think Kathy Lee House mentioned that if you can't pick up by the designated time, to call the Parks and Rec, and they'll make alternative arrangements for you to pick up for those who work later.
Absolutely. Then I have the Clawson Fire Department 8th Annual Z-Man Golf Classic. First I've known of this, but it's a cancer fundraiser. The event is Friday, May 18th at 8:30 in the morning, and you should give Doug Ballard or Neil Johnson a call to register the money. Now, it says the money was due by April 20th, but I'm guessing they'll probably get you in if you really want to go. Saturday, May 19th is Clawson Youth Assistance Evening at the Jimmy John Field for a baseball game. Gates open at 6 o'clock, and game time is at 7:05. And then the last item I have is the 25th Golf Outing fundraiser for the Clawson Athletic Boosters, and that is on May 19th as well, and it's a shotgun scramble, starts at 1 p.m. You should contact Scott Sarvello or Chris Stepnitz for additional details. Oh, one more. Don't forget Flower Day, May 20th. Farmers Market opens up on May 20th. Get your flowers and support local farmers and vendors over at the park.
May 12th at 7 o'clock p.m. is the Oakland County Football Club's home opener at City
find that one.
Park, Clawson Stadium, whatever.
Cool. And this is our last weekend for White Cane coming up. We can't step the streets too much lately, but wherever you see your local lion, please donate. It's all going to a good cause for White Cane Week. Thank
Okay.
you.
Any other additions? Okay. On to public discussion. The floor is open.
Oops.
Andrew Hodges, 510 West Baker. I'm not sure if all of you guys are aware, I am the director of Christmas in Clawson, and it's been going on for 34 years in the city. And it takes place over here, and it takes up all the parking lot, and it takes up the parking on the surrounding streets everywhere. We have about 3,000 people we've counted at one time that came through our doors. So I just wanted to let you guys, just if you're not aware of it, it's institutionalized. It's been around for a while, so just wanted you to be aware of Christmas in Clawson. It always happens the second weekend in November.
Thank you.
Hey, Angela, I got a question. Are you having the the orchestra for Detroit coming in this year?
No, I'm not aware of that coming
Okay.
at all. No.
Don't you guys normally?
They have come in the past, but I haven't seen anything come through.
Okay.
So I'm not aware.
All right, thank you.
But they did go visit them on a field trip.
Okay.
Thank you.
Might I add a question, Andrew? It's to Monique.
Yes.
That's official, and what is the process, just so we can share that information for residents?
Sure. As of right now, there's a special meeting being held on May 24th, and that's where MASB, that's the company that we have hired to do our superintendent search. So they're going to come and they're going to tell us the procedures, what's going on in the process. So he's going to get the parameters of what we're expecting, what we want to see in our superintendent, and also they're going to get the input of the stakeholders, which includes all the residents, community, and so forth. And then he'll also present a timeline to let you know of when everything will go. If everything goes well, I believe the hiring date's the beginning of August.
And when was that meeting again?
May 24th at 7 at the middle school, right across the street.
Thank you.
In case anybody's wondering why, so Ms. Andrea Hodges is the president of the school board.
Yes, I'm the president of the school board, yes.
And the city clerk, Michael Smith, is asking about
Yes.
Monique Beal's retirement, who is the
Yes.
superintendent of Clawson
Correct.
Public
Yes.
Schools. So just give some context
Yes,
to the
added more.
viewer.
The who's who.
Right. Any other questions?
I'll wait for you to go back down there.
That's what I thought.
Anyone else for public discussion?
I will provide a quick synopsis as next meeting. We will add my report moving forward. Just wanted to do some important deadlines for the elections coming up. It's May, and I guess we already have to start thinking about August. July 9th is the last day to register to vote in the August primary. That's for the August primary. So I know that we've had recently, there was kind of a pseudo voter drive or something. So some kids were registered at a recent event that the kids had, I believe. Victoria had received a handful of registrations, so that was good. I am going to try and meet with the government teacher to see if there's anyone interested. I know that a lot of times they do extra credit for them to come over here anyways. So it's always hard. We always have probably about 5 or so students, but hey, we want as many people registered as possible. To register to vote in Michigan, you must be a resident in Michigan and the city in which or township in which you're applying to register, a citizen of the United States, and at least 18 years of age by the election day. So you can register when you're 17, as long as you're 18 by the August primary, which is August 7th. And the list of candidates is official now because we passed the withdrawal deadline. For the main candidates, we still have a deadline for precinct delegates. But so you can go onto our website. I just added it to the clerk's page under the elections division. You can actually click on the link that brings you to Oakland County's page for all of the candidates that are listed. I know the big surprise that most people have is that we do have 2 Congress districts. So if you live in precinct 1, you have Congressional District 9, and the rest have Congressional District 11. That's always a big, people, when they want to contact their member or whoever it may be. So that's the thing, they I won't say the G word, but they changed our districts to make it such that way in 2012. So moving forward, we'll have that information out there to really get that information out to people. Again, if you're interested in running for precinct delegate, please mail in, hand deliver, or fax, but to the Oakland County Clerk's Office, to the Elections Division with your affidavit if you're still interested. If you're a Democrat, Republican, or Libertarian, you can file as a precinct delegate to appear on the ballot. And that deadline's by May 8th. We wanted to reiterate that if you have any dogs, as there are a lot of residents that do, the deadline to get your dog license, Oakland County dog license, is June 1st without paying a penalty. Now, of course, there are some exemptions that if you adopt a dog, purchase a dog, or whatever, after that deadline, you don't have to pay the extra fee. But we have not been notified yet if we are going to be in the census, but we never know, so we'll see. Just want to reiterate that we have to bring in a valid rabies vaccine, and you can purchase a 1-year or a 3-year here. You can, of course, do it online as well if you want. We have a link out on the website that brings you to Oakland County site. You can go to Oakland County if you want to and visit the wonderful new adoption center up there if you want. And we are currently working on our social media platform again. We apologize, one of the meetings was not done yet, the last budgets from last night. So it's not out on the YouTube page yet or on I think on our city page yet, but it will get out there soon. It was a long night last night. And then Doug wanted to remind us that we are still looking for seasonal help at the DPW. So we put that out again on social media, and I put it on the website. So I just want to make sure that if there's any graduating seniors or any college people who want a summer job, said please apply. We need some good workers. And like I stated before, I will provide a charter amendment ballot schedule and have that as transparent and out there and for the public to see so they can anticipate what might be coming in the next future years on the ballots so they're not surprised by anything. So that's my report.
Thank you very much. Look forward to it on a regular basis.
Madam Mayor, move we adjourn.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Man.
Is there any questions regarding that? No. Roll call, please.
Not allowed.
Mayor Woolley?
Yes.
Councilmember Aris?
Yes.
Councilmember Milan?
Yes.
Councilmember Moffitt?
Yes.
Councilmember Albrecht?
Yes.
Have a great night. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending.
Wow, it's not 11 o'clock?